What's up, guys? When I was younger, I had a lot of dreams and aspirations, and so in order to get to my goals, I started creating to-do lists. Now, I remember in my late teens and early 20s, I'd create a to-do list for the day based on all of the dreams and all of the aspirations that I would have. The problem that I would have, though, is that I'd create a to-do list that was like 5 pages long, and then I'd expect myself to get it all done in that very same day. And what would happen is I'd start to feel overwhelmed, and I'd start to put off the entire thing. So instead of getting some things done and being productive that day, I'd probably get 0% of that list, or maybe a couple things done. The issue that I would have is that I'd look at that list, feel overwhelmed, and say, okay, I'm just going to start. But the entire time I'd start beating myself up for not being competent enough or for procrastinating, and I'd say things to myself like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I do this? And it was actually a really, it was eating away at my self-esteem. Now that I'm older, I know that I should make my to-do lists a lot simpler and a lot smaller. And even then, sometimes not every single thing is going to get done. And I feel a lot better about it. But when I was younger, I'd create these big to-do lists and have these aspirations and be all gung-ho. But by the end of it, I'd be beating myself up, I'd be full of anxiety, and I wouldn't have even like pushed the ball forward at all. This was not working for me. What would happen is during the day, I'd feel a little bit stressed out, because I wasn't moving as fast as I wanted to. Then I'd feel more stressed and tense in my body, more overwhelmed, and that would slow myself down. And then I'd procrastinate and, maybe watch some YouTube videos, and then I'd feel even worse, and I'd start beating myself up. I'd beat myself up, and all of my to-do items, they'd basically be swarming in my head all at the same time. So imagine a jar full of marbles, and you're trying to keep track of all of the marbles, and someone's sitting there shaking them around. That's basically what I was trying to keep track of in my mind by getting all of these things done. How am I supposed to get all of that done if all of these to-do items are swarming in my mind? What would happen is my thoughts would get busier and busier, my anxiety would get stronger and stronger, until one day I found one of the best antidotes for me possible. And that was to shift my mindset into gratitude. Now, it sounds very simple, it sounds kind of woo-woo. I mean, a lot of the people watching this video kind of know where I'm coming from, because I'm friends with a lot of people that talk about gratitude in their Facebook posts. But it seems so fluffy to be like, this is the solution to my problem. No, it's not going to make the entire to-do list go away, but it completely changes the perspective of where I'm coming from. You see, the issue wasn't that I had a lot to do. The issue was that I was beating myself up because I felt incompetent. I started beating myself up because I said I wasn't able to do it, or there must have been something wrong with me because I kept procrastinating. The issue was that I kept beating myself up, and that actually would slow myself down further. Instead of that being a reinforcement or a fire under my butt to get going, beating myself up actually slowed me down and made me get less done. Even if I made like a list that was 3 items long, I would have probably got more done. But again, it wasn't the list that was the issue, it was the negative thoughts and beating myself up because I felt incompetent and not able to follow through. And I said, how am I ever going to reach my goals, reach my dreams, if I can't even make it through like a percentage of this list? That was the issue, the negative thoughts. And gratitude completely wipes away any of those negative thoughts, at least in the moment. That's why it requires practice. That's why a lot of people do gratitude rituals, and they might start their day asking themselves what they're grateful for. You'll see a lot of entrepreneurs or a lot of people in the personal development field talk about creating a gratitude ritual. And that's why it's very powerful. Now think about how that works. When you are talking about what you're grateful for, these are the types of things that I focus on. One, I focus on my friends and family that I'm grateful for, and I focus on all of the people that support me in my life. And when I stop and think about that, there's a lot of people, and then there's a lot of things that I could be grateful for. And at that very moment, I already start to feel that my present moment is actually pretty good. You see, the issue with creating a to-do list and having a lot of dreams and aspirations, it's good to have those, but when I'm beating myself up about not being there yet, then thinking about what I'm grateful for kind of brings me back to present and realize that everything's actually okay as it is right now. The chaos that I create in my mind is just in my head. It's not actually what's really happening. And so when I shift my focus on what's happening and what's going well now, then things start to shift dramatically. And I actually start to feel like my busy mind starts to calm down a little bit. My anxiety starts to drift away, and I feel a sense of ease. So one method is think about all the people. And also another big one is the accomplishments that I had in my past. What are some things that I didn't think was even possible, or something that I worked on that was a dream in the past that I have now? And I think about all of my accomplishments, and I realize, you know what, I am actually really capable. I have done all of these things. I've had these dreams and aspirations before, and I was able to follow through with them. And I could even ask myself, what did I do to get to this point? And a lot of times my answer is not to make a to-do list, but I know, like, for example, I actually did this exercise the other day. I said, what are some things that I accomplished? And I thought about the last time I went to school. I got really good grades. All of my assignments got really good grades, and, most of them were high 90s. I think most of my assignments I actually got 100% on. And so now when I'm working on things and I'm procrastinating and things aren't working right, I think to myself, well, I was able to get great grades. Obviously, I can accomplish things. What did I do? And I realized that like a few weeks ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago, that I was making to-do lists, which does not create productivity for me. It just creates overwhelm. What works for me is a trick that I learned from Tony Robbins, and that is first asking, what do I want and what is my outcome? So I create a picture of everything that of what it looks like when it's done. Then I ask the question, why is that important? And the why adds the juice. So for example, let's say a goal is weighing a certain weight, or like for me, I want to be able to see my abs. I have like a nice layer of fat over it, and I want to be able to see my abs, because a numerical, like a weight number, doesn't motivate me so much. So saying I'm going to weigh 150 pounds by this date doesn't motivate me enough to actually really go for and commit to it. I'm a much more of a visual learner. I'm a visual person, so imagining a six-pack is more motivating to me than, let's say, 140 pounds. And then when I add, or 160 or something, 140 would be pretty skinny for me. 100, okay, so yeah. And then I asked the why. Now, do I want a six-pack abs just so I could have a six-pack abs? No, I actually don't even I'm not even driven by having like the perfect body type and looking like a model or anything. For me, it's all about vitality and health and strength. and I want to live a long life. Like, I work in a nursing home, so I see what the impact of people's behaviors and decisions are way down the road. Like, I work with a lot of people that are 80 and 90 years old, and I could see some of the people that I work with, they were smokers when they grew up, they drink a ton of pop, and they are in worse conditions overall than the people that eat healthy and kind of have taken care of their body. It's really apparent and obvious when I see people at that age group. When people are in the 20s and 30s, you know, we all tend to have a pretty good amount of energy, whether we eat like garbage or we eat like we eat really well. Usually people who eat really well and exercise, they have more energy, of course, but I know even myself, when I'm eating junk food every day, I feel more lethargic, but I'm not having any diseases right now in my life. I don't have anything that's really crazy, but I know when I work on my health, one of the things that's motivating me is looking at my future vision and being like, look, you know, when I'm eating like crap now, no, I'm not like immediately having diabetes or heart problems, but I'm 29, but if I kept on with these habits of eating junk food, then who knows where I'll be when I'm 60. I know I'd rather be a healthy 60-year-old that is able to do whatever they want rather than one that had a heart attack and has to sit in a wheelchair or something like that. Anyway, this video has rambled on long enough. I hope you enjoyed that. Peace.